The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
We are live from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. My first guest is Jets reporter for Athlon Sports, making his Combine debut, Nick Ferrier. We got a lot to talk about. Aaron Glenn, Darren Mougey, they speak today. We're going to cover that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show, live from the Combine, and it starts right now.
Live from Radio Row in Indianapolis, it's Combine time as teams look for their next superstar. Some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment will be right here. Get ready for the 2025 draft, baby. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go, live from Indianapolis. Nick, here we go, baby. Aaron Glenn, meeting the media. Darren Mougey, meeting with the media. They'll speak today in the 12 p.m. Eastern hour, so I'll be live on the channel reacting to what they say. We'll get to what we think they might say coming up, but you made it to Indy, Nick. First Combine. What do you think of the Radio Row setup here?
It is overwhelming, to say the least. This is absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is the NFL. They do everything the best they possibly can. And this is truly incredible.
Live from the Underwear Olympics, the NFL Combine.
Listen, this is a great week, not just for media members like us, but also, for these kids, for these young athletes. This is their first opportunity to really just put their best foot forward. And it's not just seniors going up against each other, the best players at the Senior Shrine Bowl, but they now get the opportunity to meet with these teams in person, be able to show why they are the best fit for these organizations. There are going to be a lot of questions. What's going to happen at quarterback this year? You may see two of the top three quarterbacks in this draft class not throw this week. What will that mean? A lot to talk about there, and a couple of injuries as well. Probably the best prospect out of anybody not working out this week because of a shoulder injury. Do we expect him to be fully healthy? Sure, but that's a question mark that's going to follow for the next couple of months.
So you look at where the Jets are as we kind of set the scene here in our opening show live from the Combine. Pick 7's unique because typically at all the mocks, quarterbacks are gone by 7. And this is not last year where you had 5 quarterbacks go in the first 15 picks. It's a lot different. So the Jets are in a spot where, there could be a really good player there at 7. There's also a scenario where, hey, maybe it makes sense if you can find a trade partner. Maybe you move out of 7, try and stockpile some picks. So if your strategy is, hey, in 2026, we're going to go up and get the quarterback, we have extra assets to make that move.
Well, and I think you look at the comparisons between other teams around the National Football League. You look at Denver last year. We talked about how great a quarterback that class was, but from the people that I spoke to, a majority felt that Michael Penix and Bo Nix were reaches at their point, because you looked at Michael Penix, you saw a player that had multiple knee injuries, the shoulder injury as well in Washington. He had a great final year with the Huskies, but there were some injury concerns. Then he looked at Bo Nix, started out really, really raw in college, developed into a pretty solid passer, but was essentially, I don't want to say a screen merchant, but one of those players that really fundamentally worked in one particular offense and didn't really have a lot of experience in others. People thought they were reaches. They weren't, because their teams that drafted them, they fell in love with them. Look at the Atlanta Falcons taking Penix with the 8th overall pick. That shocked everyone in April's draft. Absolutely everyone did not expect that. But what it did was it forced Denver to make a decision. Do we wait into the later portion of the first round to draft Bo Nix, or do we just take our guy now and move forward with the players that we have on the roster and keep our picks right there? Denver fell in love with a player, and they took him where they were. And it fit and worked for them perfectly. You could certainly see that with the New York Jets this year, because if they fall in love with Mason Graham out of Michigan, if they fall in love with Will Johnson, the quarterback out of Michigan, that's all well and good. They can stay there at 7. But if they really fall in love with a quarterback, then you don't wait. You don't wait to just hope the board falls to you. You go and get that guy, whether it's a Cam Ward, whether it's a Shedeur Sanders, whether it's a Jackson Dart. Listen, Jackson Dart's going to be a big question mark in this entire week. If he has a great workout and he excels in these interview processes, I think he's going to shoot up a lot of draft boards than most people think.
Well, the key is if he's going to shoot up draft boards, does that mean he's shooting all the way up to number 7 for the Jets? Is he shooting up towards the end of the first round where the Jets would then trade back in if they
I think he's a
identify
first
him?
rounder. Yeah, I think he's a first rounder right now.
So do we have 3 quarterbacks that ultimately go in the first round?
I think 3. I think 3 is a soft spot. If Quinn Ewers is another one that I think a lot of people are going to keep an eye on, I think he's more of a safe second round guy. Maybe a team like the Giants, maybe they say, hey, we're going to take the best player available. Let's get Travis Hunter, and then we're going to pair him with Quinn Ewers in the second round. Maybe that happens. But I think Jackson Dart probably right now, if there's a player that I think that can shoot up draft boards into the early first round instead of just the mid to late, I think it's him.
We're talking with Jets reporter Nick Faria. Athlon Sports decided to spend big bucks and send him out here to cover his first ever NFL Combine. Aaron Glenn, Darren Mougey, they speak today at noon. They're going to be asked about Aaron Rodgers. What's the answer you think they give when they're asked about why they moved on from a 4-time MVP?
I think they're going to be pretty deflective as the way things are right now. I think they're just going to be focusing on the team that they are going to have. I think the only question worth asking at this point, because they've already made the decision, the only question worth asking is, are you going to make this a post-June 1st cut, or are you just going to bite the bullet and take that $49 million cap hit? Outside of that, there really isn't anything more to say except for, in my opinion, the bigger question is going to be what happens with Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. Are these going to be extension candidates, and are they going to try and get these deals done right away? It's a question that the Jets haven't really answered to this point. We've only spoken to Mougey and Glenn once, and that was in their introductory press conferences. So the opportunity to ask these kind of questions is important, and I think we'll be able to get a lot of answers today.
Well, it's also going to be great to hear from them from this standpoint. At the opening press conference, they could fall back on, well, we don't have our coaching staff yet. We haven't had time to watch game film of every game and evaluate the roster.
They've had some time.
They've had time now. They've had over a month to kind of get their ducks in a row. So we could ask pointed questions about rostered players and, hey, Jamian Sherwood's a free agent. Hey, Morgan Moses is a free agent. Hey, Garrett Wilson, are you going to offer him an extension? Sauce Gardner comes out on Twitter last night saying he wants to be a Jet for life. He wants to be here. I mean, these are the questions they'll be asked. It'll be interesting to see the answers we get.
And I also think they'll probably deflect as well, because that's what people do in this stage. You know, you never want to unveil all the plans at the Combine when you've got 2-3 months of off-season work ahead of you. What I do think will happen is, if there is anything to come out of the Combine this year for the Jets, it is if they fall in love with a quarterback, we're going to know about it right away. And I mean right away, because you look at the incoming free agent class, Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, those are probably the top 2 guys. If the Jets are going after a rookie, they're not going to sign one of these players. You heard Josina Anderson's report yesterday essentially saying, hey, they're confident that Tyrod Taylor can run the offense and be the starting quarterback in 2025. If that were to be the case, then why would you sign Justin Fields to a contract? Why would you sign any veteran quarterback in the free agent market? That would only show that you want to be able to draft a quarterback in the first round. So I think the answers they can give, they'll probably deflect right away. That's what most teams do. Most coaches and general managers do. They never want to say what their plans are in Indianapolis, a couple weeks before free agency. But I do think we will learn right away if they fall in love with a quarterback, because their entire free agent plan will hinge on that decision.
We're talking with Nick Faria. He's our first guest to kick off NFL Combine Week. I'm told Will Parkinson will be stopping by at some point, but with Will, I mean, he'd be late to his own funeral. So you never know with him. But Nick is joining us here. So if you have a question for Nick about the Jets, about the Combine, write it in. Super Chats, we'll cut the line. Dan, the Jet fan, with our first Super Chat of the week. Nick Faria has that dog in him. Also, Nick, it's your first ever Combine, so I'm going to put it out there to the audience. All Super Chats during your appearance will go towards me buying you a round of drinks later when we go out to dinner.
I mean, that's a great deal.
I mean,
but here's the thing. I'm not really a drinker, so you'd probably just be paying for my soda.
How about a famous shrimp cocktail from St. Elmo's?
I'll do that.
You got to at least do that once.
Well, so that was that the one that Antoine was talking about, where he really struggled with that?
Now
I'm going to be a little nervous. I got to make sure.
It was technically Harry and Izzy's, but it's owned by the same people, so it's the same shrimp cocktail.
Same.
Yesterday,
same old.
So I dined at St. Elmo's last night. We snagged like a last-second reservation that opened up.
Good.
And guess who was dining there? Jim Nantz and Tony Dungy. They walk in, and I'm like, hello, friends. And then I was thinking to myself, I know it's not Tony Romo, but do you think Jim Nantz had any inclination to be like, Tony. Like, you think he just does that with just Romo or all Tony? So was Dungy getting the Tony?
I will say, and I want to make this point very, very clear. Jim Nantz, in my opinion, is the best football announcer out of any of the major networks. I stand by. I think Nantz is the best. I think his legacy somewhat has been hurt a little bit because of Tony Romo. I think Romo as a color analyst is really bad, and it's bringing Nantz down a little bit because, I mean, this guy has been calling everything. He's called the Masters. He's called NCAA tournament national champions. He's called Super Bowls. I love Nantz as a broadcaster. He's a guy that I aspire to, and especially when I was younger. And I feel that ever since Tony Romo got in, you felt that CBS, the popularity for them kind of dipped a little bit at the top. Sad. It's unfortunate.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. We're live from the Radio Row Combine edition here on the Jake Asman Show. We're inside the Indiana Convention Center. Behind us, if you guys can see like the black curtain behind us, right behind that is where all the press conferences happen with the players that are obviously participating in the Combine. That's later in the week. You have the coaches and the GMs that are at different podiums. That all happens right behind us here. I'd show you guys, but I don't want to touch the camera. It's on a tripod very far away, so I don't want to mess with it, but we'll give you guys a tour later in the week. So give you guys a little feel. Plus, make sure you guys follow me at Jake Asman on Twitter and Instagram if you want some behind-the-scenes stuff from Indy. Reminder, all week long until either Thursday or Friday, depending on the schedule. I'm going to say Friday for now. We'll do it on a football Friday. We have entries we're accepting for the next Asmaniac raffle. $20 super chat will get you 5 entries. A gifted membership will get you 1. If you get 5, you get 5, so on and so forth. Signed Sauce jersey, signed Mangle jersey, signed Jermaine Johnson jersey, signed Mark Sanchez helmet, signed Joe Klecko helmet. And if you missed the announcement yesterday, I added a 6th prize to the Asmaniac raffle. Signed Chad Pennington helmet. So the theme, Nick, is successful Jets draft picks in honor of the Combine.
Get that
not bad.
Get that good juju in the building right away. You want to make sure they're able to hit on whatever pick they make, whether it's 7 or 1. That's a doozy. I still say the best gift you had was the ring. The replica silver ring. That is fantastic. Yep. Absolutely fantastic.
I'm a big fan. So if you want in on the raffle, you guys know what to do. Jimbo's in on the raffle for 5 with his $20 super chat, and he's paying for a round of drinks, or a Diet Coke, if you will, for one Nick Perry.
I got to make it weird, man. It's all good.
Hey, Jake and Nick, do you think we could do what the Texans did in 2023 with trading up after taking a quarterback / a position player after making a pick at 7? Also have a feeling 4 QBs go, Ward, Shador, Dart, and Will Howard at 24 through 32. Not crazy. You know, typically this is when you start to have guys move up boards that are quarterbacks if they have a good week. As far as the Jets doing what the Texans did, I don't think it'd be to that extreme where Houston obviously, I mean, they traded 2 to 4, right, to get
and
CJ and Will.
3. Yeah, they kept 3.
Yeah,
they traded up to 2.
Yep.
Yeah, it was insane. And it's a fair question. I don't think they're going to be able to keep 7 in that retrospect. I think if you're trading up, you're giving away 7 at that point. But
it would have to be they pick a player at 7, then they trade back into the first round in that scenario.
It's not the end of the world.
Because if you like a guy, you get the 5th-year option on him if you take him in the first round. Well, that's the thing.
So, like, Houston fell in love with C.J. Stroud, and they did everything they could to trade up and get him. That quarterback class, everyone looked and said, yeah, it's a talented one, but it's not a great one. It's not a oh, wow, everyone wants, the top guy. Bryce Young was seen as the favorite for the top pick. C.J. Stroud was a solid pick. No one was the can't-miss prospect like last year.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cody Stutes right behind us. Look at this guy.
Incredible. But it wasn't like he had Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May back-to-back with these top quarterbacks. It's not the case. I see that as a very similarity. So I think this comment's very fair where if you're the Jets and you want to be like the Texans, this is probably the perfect class to do it because you're not going to have to trade up an arm and a leg to move up to 2 or 3 or maybe even 1 to get your quarterback because the quarterbacks in this class are not these can't-miss prospects.
Super chats. Cut the line. Fiore checks in. What do you guys think of Kuiper mocking Shador Sanders to the Jets? Now, in this mock from Kuiper, Shador was just there at 7, which, honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. But of any of the quarterbacks between him or Ward that could fall to 7, I could see it. He's not throwing at the Combine. He didn't have a great last bowl game. Everything that comes with him with his dad. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I just think that's part of the evaluation. Like, I just don't to the rest of the super chat here, right? How does he fit the culture Glenn wants? His dad's in the media more than Rodgers. Like that, you can't tell me you're moving off of Aaron Rodgers because of all he brings and his stature and the distraction element to it. And then You're going to draft Deion's son. I'm sorry, that just doesn't jive.
I would be stunned if Shedeur Sanders is there at 7, not because he's, he falls or whatever the issue is, because I think the Raiders are going to want to get him. I think if you look at two teams that want to trade up in the draft
By the way, former Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce was at dinner last night.
Oh, that's incredible. But
now, did I confuse him for Steve Smith? Maybe, but it was Antonio Pierce.
Listen, I have a great draft day story. So we were. This was when it was in New York, and my brother and I think we were like 8, 9 years old. We met Herman Edwards in the lobby. It was great. It was a great experience for me because obviously my Eagles background. And we get to the draft in New York. We get to Radio City. We're sitting down, and my brother wanted to go see the NFL Network booth, and he went to the NFL booth, and on the podium was Charles Davis. He thought it was Marshall Faulk.
That's great.
So for like 6 minutes, my middle brother is screaming, Marshall, can I get an autograph? Can I get an autograph? You're a Hall of Famer. And Charles Davis turns and goes, that's not me. That's the other black guy. I sat there. I was like, oh my God, I'm mortified. And I'm sitting in the corner. Now, should I have told my brother that he's picking on the wrong guy? Sure. But I wanted to see this catastrophe. I wanted to see the Hindenburg fall in that retrospect. But to the question again, I think the Raiders, if any team is going to go up for Sanders, I just don't see him falling to the Jets because the Raiders are doing everything they can to move up as well.
As far as the second part of Paul Fiore's super chat here, Nick, trade down and get Dart in that scenario.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not in love with Shedeur and they have a team, if he's somehow there at 7 and one of the, because that's the easiest way to get a lot in a trade back if teams are coming up for a quarterback. So if someone else wants Shedeur, the Jets don't, he's there at 7. You can move back, get some assets, and then maybe you end up trading back up for Dart or you take him on day 2. I'm fine with that. To me, I don't need to come away with a quarterback in the first or second round this year unless I actually like someone. I'm comfortable getting extra picks, having a bridge quarterback this year, and then getting my guy in 26 when the class is supposedly better.
It makes a lot of sense. I'm not denying that. But if you trade back, and let's say in this instance, trade back for Jackson Dart, there's no guarantee that the team that's trading up doesn't want a quarterback either. Like they may like Jackson Dart a lot more than you do. And I think what fans need to understand is when there's a perception, there's a lot of fans out there that don't want Jackson Dart or don't want Cam Ward because they're not the can't-miss prospects. And they see all these issues they had in college and say, not worth it, awful pick, whatever. Just because that's a perception from the fan base doesn't mean that the rest of the organizations do feel that way as well. So the way I look at it is if Jackson Dart's there at 7 and you really like him and you feel that a team trading up does not want him, then you make that move. Otherwise, if you want the quarterback, if you really like him, there's no point in waiting. Get him now. That's exactly what the Broncos did.
And look, you look at like this mock draft from CBS Sports today. Jets traded up to number 1 to get Cam Ward. Now, maybe it's not 1, maybe it's 2. Josina Anderson saying that going into the combine, she thinks the team that's most open to actually trading back in the top 2 is not Tennessee, it's Cleveland.
Which makes a lot of sense because of the Myles Garrett issue.
Right, and then they get a bunch of picks, and maybe they look at it like, we'll get our quarterback in 2026. We're still dealing with the Watson contract. We'll get a bridge guy. Yeah. Stefanski's proven if you give him competent quarterback play, he can get you to the playoffs. But say Cleveland is interested. Me personally, I only want to trade up for Cam Ward. I don't want to deal with everything that comes with Shedeur Sanders.
It's difficult.
I think Cam's the better player too. By the way,
I agree. Cam's the better player, but the other argument to that is Shedeur Sanders has a lot of bravado going on. He's also probably.
He's not a bad. I'm not saying it like in a negative way, like he's a bad kid. I get it. You can't tell me on you move off of Aaron Rodgers and then we bring in Deion Sanders.
But I take it a little bit different. I look at that and say he's been in the spotlight all his life.
That's a good point.
So he understands that pressure. He's experienced that. So there will be no Zach Wilson deer in the headlights, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts issue because he has been in these situations before. I'm not disagreeing with anything you said, but there's also another side to that coin to say maybe he's the most prepared for the Jets market than anything else.
Ladies and gentlemen, Super Chats are flying off the shelves here. I'm skipping ahead to Jets carpetbagger. He's in the raffle for 5 with this one. Let's go, King Lowski. Nick may want steak instead of drinks. Nick, do you want steak?
Ooh, hold on. If that's on the table, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's on the table, but I'm poor, so I need way more than $20 to get steak.
Well, that's the thing. If it's steak, I'm absolutely saying yes, but we got to make sure the funds are there, people. Yeah. I need to eat.
Yeah,
I'm fat. I need to eat.
Nick's an eater, folks. Come on now. I'm just messing with you. Jet Carpetbagger, thank you very much. We'll get you the raffle for 5 with that. Super chat here for the big fella. Here's $5 for Nick Shirley Temple. Do you think the Status of Jordan Travis after an evaluation will determine which quarterback we sign in free agency. I mean, I don't think there's anything Jordan Travis could do from now to free agency and even the draft that's going to influence their decision. Yeah,
they can't talk to players. Travis is not. He may be in the quarterback picture, but I don't think he's going to be considered as the guy right away. They're not just going to hand him the job in March. If a free agent move is going to happen, it's going to happen because of Tyrod Taylor, or they don't like, or they like, or don't like anyone from the 2025 draft class. It's not going to happen right now with Jordan Travis. That's just not realistic.
Jay Pisani with a super chat. This show has me hyped up. I want to smash my face through my television and run around the neighborhood wearing like a necklace. I'll tell you what, that is what Nick Faria does to start combine coverage. Right?
The one thing I will say, I had to take a late flight. It was beautiful.
What airline?
Delta.
I'm glad you made it safely.
Yeah, listen, man.
That's been in question lately.
I'm a very paranoid person. I've got nervous tics and everything else. Ryan Pohl's just walking by us. So with flying and everything, I don't do well with heights. So I was quite literally hanging on to my chair for dear life the entire time. We had some turbulence. Glad we're here safely. You move forward with that, and you're just being happy.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We're talking all things Jets, all things Combine. Nick Faria joining us here to start it off. All right. You went through the Asmaniac bracket before the show today. Give me your final 4 picks, Nick Faria.
Yeah.
Give the people what they want. And for those of you who haven't filled out a bracket yet, it is linked in the description to join the pool. You have a chance to win epic Jet-related prizes if you come in first, second, or third in the pool. And obviously, if you're the winning Asmaniac, you're going to get the best of the best trophy named after legendary Asmaniac Keith Best that we'll be sending out to whoever wins. But, Nick, you got the 4 regions, all right? You have the number 1 overall seed, Charles Gorman, leading the Chicken Soup region. You have the Hood region, led by Cheats Fan. You have the Butter region, led by Bobby Midnight. And you have the 4th and final region, the Train region, led by the Lane Train. So I need your final 4 picks for Asmaniac Madness.
So you're all going to be surprised by this, but there are a lot of upsides on my bracket. A lot of upsets. First off, in the final 4, I got Peter Castro and Johnny Boy.
Wow.
Love Johnny Boy. I have him beating JJ as part of my bracket. And on the other side, it's Mr. Bonesy and Ricky NY. And who's my champion? Ricky NY. I love the guy. I love him so much. He's probably, listen, I love his angry takes. He doesn't really get angry on these shows whenever he calls in, but whenever he does, it's coming from a nuanced perspective. So I appreciate that. I love Ricky as a caller. I think he's great. I wish the Wi-Fi situation would be better, but
He's figured it out there. He learned how to call in from the phone, which has been a huge,
Ricky, you're my
advantage
pick.
for him.
Ricky, I think you're going to win. Don't worry. Johnny Boy, I'm sorry. You get to the finals, but I think Ricky's the winner here today.
Strong. I mean, look, Asmaniac Madness is changing people's lives. I mean, the Selection Sunday show that we had Sunday night, I mean, went 3.5 hours.
Good Lord.
People are still buzzing about it. I mean, look at this emotional moment when listener Jay Quest found out with his family he made the tournament.
Guys, I'm really nervous. I don't know what's going to happen if I don't get in.
We might lose the house. Again.
I know. It's going to be the 3rd time, but let's just see. It's about to come on. Let's see what happens. Look at the screen. Look, it's about to come on. 3, 2. Yeah! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! We're in! Let's go! We're in, baby! We're in! Woo! We're not losing the house! Yeah, Jake!
Yeah! That's what Asmaniac Madness is all about, Nick.
Yeah, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Great production. The family. The Jake Asman show brings families together.
We do.
That's the only way to talk about this.
Michael with a super chat. He cuts the line. Here's my donation to the Nick Steak Fund. Thank you, Michael. Another $5 towards the goal.
Get filet mignon now.
Mr. McMoney with an Asmaniac super chat. Nick, thoughts on Ben O. Verbic draft stock?
Who?
Ben O. Verbic.
Listen, I've been doing some pretty preliminary stuff right now. I haven't.
Is this a real prospect, or are we being duped here?
It might be. I haven't seen him. I did a combine preview, and I didn't have him on my list.
By the way, Ricky NY is in the chat. He goes, "Wow, holy crap! Thank you, Nick. I try to have good takes, and I do my research."
Yeah, I think he's great, Ricky. I hope you win.
Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button if you're tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. with Nick Faria. We're accepting entries for the Asmaniac Raffle, which I just decided we'll do it on Friday this week, Football Friday. Maybe we'll add another prize or two before we get there. But we got the signed Pennington helmet that was added yesterday, the signed Klecko helmet, signed Sanchez helmet, and our 3 autographed jerseys by Jermaine Johnson, Nick Mangold, and Sauce Gardner. So it's one of our bigger raffles we've ever done here. Thanks to the Asmaniacs for the continuous support. Super Chats cut the line, so get those in. You look, as far as some of the other offseason stuff with the Jets, so much focus is going to be on quarterback. But as far as free agency goes, give me some potential options for the Jets, some guys that you think would make sense, because they do have money to spend. There's a misconception that the Jets have no flexibility. They do have a lot of flexibility and can add some players to this team. So your thoughts on some free agent targets?
So I think the top 2 are probably the 2 best defensive linemen in the free agent pool, and I think that'll come down to whether the Jets really like the quarterback class or not. But Josh Sweat and Milt Williams, both from Philadelphia, both really good and both expected to get a lot of money in free agency. I think Sweat is probably the better fit because he can play the run really well. He's a really good pass rusher, establishes himself very, very nicely in a defensive scheme like Aaron Glenn's. I think he's probably the best fit. Will he cost about $20 million? Sure. But I do think that if the Jets want to revamp this defense, and they're going to have to make a choice, quarterback or edge rusher within the top pick. And if they take a quarterback, that means you're going to need to develop and sign an edge rusher very quickly. And I think Sweat's probably the guy. Outside of that, though, I don't think Mekhi Becton's coming back. Let's put that right there, right off the top. But they could certainly go for a receiver. It just depends in terms of the overall fit, what they want to do. The way I look at it, though, if you're the Jets and the quarterback position is something you really need to focus on, you need to make sure the defensive line is ready to go. So I look at Sweat as probably the go-to guy in this one. And then, of course, Javon Holland, the Dolphins safety corner, whatever you want to call him. I think he's a great fit for this team. I think he works really, really nicely with what the Jets want to do defensively in their man and zone hybrid. It's going to depend on what Aaron Glenn wants. It's going to depend on what they want to pay. But when you look at the overall value, I think what the Eagles did last year is show that some of these positions of lesser value really can be worth a lot if you just pay them clear market value. They did that with Saquon Barkley. The Ravens did that with Derrick Henry. You're able to be successful with that. So maybe you pay a safety. Maybe you pay a linebacker and you move forward with there. So I think if there's 2 players I think the Jets target, it's probably Holland and Josh Sweat. I would say Sweat's probably the priority right now.
My hope for safety is Justin Reed from Kansas City.
Yeah, he's a good one. And the thing is, you can't go wrong. You just need to make sure you sign one because they don't have anyone on the roster. I mean, I think Chuck Clark can be good a full year removed from his ACL injury.
I don't think they're going to bring him back,
but that's the thing. You don't know. And now he's closing in on 30. You don't want to just throw out a contract just because. Tony Adams could be brought back. That's all well and good.
We also have no idea how they the Saleh didn't value safeties.
No,
so that was obvious. It's but how does Glenn and Wilkes value the safety
Lions
position?
did. The Lions did value safety. So I think that's part of the equation, part of the discussion. But we don't know at this point who's going to be the main guy. I think ultimately, though, they're going to be a team that wants to win through the trenches. You saw what Philadelphia did in the Super Bowl, and the league is a copycat league. If a team like that is trying to dominate through the trenches so much that they knock off the 2-time defending champions by punching them in the mouth, then really the only explanation, the only response to that is to make sure that your trenches are shored up. So defensive line, offensive line, those guys are taken care of pretty quickly.
Hit the like button if you're tuning in. If you're one of the 425 people in here right now, you're not doing your job because there's only 107 likes. So the math is not mathing.
Get that number up.
Is that a sign that you don't like Nick Faria? If it is, there's nothing I can do about that.
Happens.
But you know what? If it's not, then hit the like button. Last chance to get in a super chat for Nick. We got, I believe, Will Parkinson joining us at some point soon here. So we'll go to the old call to the bullpen here.
Yeah, we're right in front, so we see everyone entering. I haven't seen Will yet.
I see Brian Costello waddling across here. Not really waddling, but just lethargically walking here.
I wonder if he was here for Vrabel or if he was here for Shane. Interesting.
Maybe both.
Maybe. It was supposed to go at the same time, though, so I don't know.
Kyle Clifton with a super chat. Phenom hasn't called in. Is he ducking this smoke? It's a good point. We haven't heard from Phenom. Obviously, Kyle Clifton is getting ready for his matchup against Phenom in the opening round. Phenom, if you're out there, you're being called out. Adam writes in, if there's ever an international bracket, Jake, you got to get me in. Adam, you could make the tournament in the normal version of the tournament. We just need you to call in, man. You're always watching the show. I know
Gotta
you're.
make sure, yeah.
He's in the UK, so I know it could be tough with the time difference. But we have a first-round matchup featuring 2 people from Australia, so it can be done.
The excuses that's an excuse I hear. If there was ever an international version, if you want in, you got to get in. It's that simple.
Our committee chair is from Canada.
Oh, I don't. That's weird. Do it, man. Let's go.
We're an international show. Let's see. June writes in, Slick Nick has lost his mind thinking I'm losing in the first round to JJ. I don't think too highly of Slick Nick. So June, the GM, is in the matchup against JJ in the opening round, that 13-6 matchup in the Chicken Soup region.
Well, I'll never forget JJ. And this is probably why I voted him, because it was one of the weirdest comments I've ever had on any show ever. When you had day one of free agency, the team had signed John Simpson, Tyrod Taylor. They had made some interesting moves, but free agency was like 3 hours old. And JJ went on a 15-minute rant, just absolutely screaming his head off because they did not make a move right away in the first 3 hours. It was incredible. It was incredible television. And to this day, I think that stands with me more than anything else.
Nick, thanks for starting off Combine Week.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you for the steak.
He's Nick Barria. I'll be getting him his Diet Coke or Shirley Temple later tonight. Maybe a steak. We'll see how the rest of the day goes with the Super Chats from the Asmaniacs. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we continue our coverage. We got Will Parkinson stopping by the set here at Radio Row in Indy. And with Will, we'll talk about everything going on with the New York Jets and get his thoughts on what to expect today from both Glenn and Mougey. Back with more in a moment. Jake Asman with you, live from the Combine here in Indianapolis.
Hi, how are you? Bruce Hall. That's good.
Lane, what's up, Lane Kerner?
Hey, and Jake, my brother. Do you have any other ideas about what you do now because the season's over?
I hope they draft really good players that help the Jets win.
I'm hearing that they might get, was it Knoble? Yeah. I see him going.
Wait,
I don't know.
Lane, who's Knoble?
The guy that the guy that was in college?
Well, a lot of these draft prospects were in college, so I'm trying to figure out who you're referring to. What position does Knoble play?
Was he because I think he plays in one of the college and stuff.
I don't know who Knoble is.
Yeah, Knoble. I forgot his last name. I would have to look it up.
All right.
And okay, thank you for taking my call.
Who's Knoble?
BJF, I'm gonna need you to figure out who this Knoble guy is. You're more of a draft guy than I am.
Knoble at 10. He's bust proof. Lane should get to announce the draft pick. No matter who they pick, he should say we took Knoble.
That was a top 3 Lane call ever. You're welcome, Gator. I can't wait to see what you do with that one. We had everything in there. He gave us a Bruce Hall. He gave us this Knoble character. I don't know who he's talking about, but maybe we'll figure it out.
Whoa, holy crap, I can't believe it. Lane Kerner's in the house. Choo-choo. We are all aboard the Lane train. Hello, Lane.
You guys know when the Lane train calls in, this show could go anywhere, so buckle up. What's up, Lane Kerner?
Zach Wilson is not going to come back. Why don't you think he's going to sign still with the Jets? Is it because he's not good?
He stinks!
Oh, stings? Yeah, same feeling.
The guy is terrible!
I said announce the draft picks.
Lane, I want you to announce a Jets pick. That would make my
Yeah,
life.
I mean, who am I going to pick, though, for the draft? On the 2022 draft pick, the pick goes to Knoble out of college. Then they tell you who the players are from, and their families get excited. You sign him, he should be good going into week 1. Yeah, I know a lot of the football.
That was amazing. I love you, Lane. You're the best. What a draft pick. Lane, you are a national treasure. I think in classic Charles Gorman fashion, I saw a comment from Charles that said, "Who is Knoble?" as we played a full video explaining exactly who Knoble is. So, Charles, I go to you next. Do you still not know who Knoble is?
I think Lane Train's an idiot. I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
What do you mean he's an idiot?
He's making stuff up. Who's Knoble? I looked him up on the internet and he's not there.
He is. He went to college.
Guys, stop it. Seriously, I know the bullshit coming out of your mouth. It's bullshit.
Charles, I don't like your tone.
Here,
Charles.
how do you spell Knoble?
Charles, I don't need to dignify your nonsense. See you later. Get out of here. How do you spell Knoble? Doesn't matter how to spell Knoble. All that matters is he's one of the great prospects we've ever seen. More of your calls right now. Let's go to Jake Klein. What's up, Jake?
Well, actually, first off, for one.
And we're back live from the NFL Scouting Combine. And ladies and gentlemen, the host of the Turn on the Jets podcast, a regular on this program for going on, 3 years now, 4 seasons?
I think 4 years in a row now.
I mean, the great Will Parkinson joins us. Will, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm, we're day and a half in of later nights, so I'm just, getting the body ready. Just a little hydration in the morning. Got to do a little Mike Vrabel, Joe Shane this morning, so we're doing good, man.
What did you think of Mike Vrabel? Was he asked anything about turning down the Jets job?
No, not yet. He mentioned someone asked him about the Bills, how to overtake the Bills. He basically said, you got to win, we got to win your home games. Basically said, the Jets, the rivalry and the bad blood essentially with the Jets of like the Patriots Jets. So that was the only mention of the Jets, but I have a lot more questions about free agency than about anything else.
So we got Glenn and Mougey in the 12 p.m. Eastern hour today. You expecting anything notable to come from that?
I'm expecting a lot of bad Aaron Rodgers questions that he's going to give no answer on. I'm expecting. I'd like someone, and maybe me or you will ask you, but I'd like someone to ask more of like what an Aaron Glenn player and Darren Mougey player looks like. I think we don't know. We guess on, what system are they going to run? What scheme are they going to run? What kind of edge rushers do they like? All these different things. We don't know. So
I want to know that for defense in particular because
the draft, a lot of these guys
Well, it's like people keep mocking Mason Graham to the Jets. Is he a scheme fit next to Quentin Williams?
What if they don't? What if they want every defensive tackle to be 6'6", 350? I don't know. I'm making it up, obviously, but we got to know. I think we got to know a little bit of. It's hard to guess what they're going to do at the draft if we don't know what an Aaron Glenn player looks like. So that's one question I'd like to know, and just a little bit more around kind of what scheme they're going to run, different things like that. Again, we're doing a lot more guessing than we are, or predicting than we are actually know what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then with the Rodgers questions, I mean, we'll talk around it.
We'll talk around. They'll get great respect for him. We love this time here.
Yeah, we just felt like we wanted to go in a new direction, and then the response would be, well, it was reported that you guys think he still could play, so why did you maybe move on from the best
you'd like
option?
to just know. I mean, you're not going to get much, but you'd at least they'll probably hit on it right away 1 or 2 times, be able to give, they give a little bit of the political answer, and then, kind of move from there. And I think it'll be good this probably be the last time we'll have to kind of not hear about it, but talk about the Rodgers stuff. And I think it'll be able to almost be a fresh start for everybody in terms of hey, we're moving on. We're going to start talking about free agency draft. Who's going to play quarterback in 2025?
We're talking with Will Parkinson. If you guys have a question for Will, super chat it in. Comments, questions, super chats. You guys know the drill. It will cut the line. As far as quarterback options go, Will, story comes out yesterday. A lot of people in the Jet building like Tyrod Taylor, which doesn't surprise me. If you guaranteed me 17 games of health for Tyrod, I think a lot of us would be like, okay, well, that makes sense. Just let him be the quarterback for a year. That said,
if you guaranteed me I'd hit on the lottery every time I bought a lottery ticket.
Exactly. That said, we know the guy can't stay healthy, so I think they're going to definitely add a veteran. Your thoughts on who that veteran might be?
I would say right now, if Fields leaves Pittsburgh, I think he's the odds-on favorite, for lack of a better term. I think it's Fields. Then it starts to get just weird. There's the Kirk stuff, but I feel like Kirk is more of a. I would imagine they'll probably kick the tires on. Hey, he looks super cheap option. Maybe the Achilles is more. Maybe more healed than we realize, and 6 months later, is his arm strength back and stuff. Maybe it's just gone for him. So I don't know on the Kirk of it all. I would say other guys, do you kick the tires on a Cooper Rush? That's where, I start to be like, Cooper Rush is a really good backup. That's a spot starter, and, we've seen him win games in the NFL. But is that really your big selling point? You know what I mean? That's where it's a bit difficult. So it feels like Tyrod and a rookie – or Tyrod, a rookie, and Fields is probably the 2 most likely options. Maybe they kick the tires on Russ as well, but Russ and Kirk to me just feel like that doesn't make anyone excited. At least with Fields, you can sell yourself the upside of, hey, he's 25. Look what he's done. The Darnold, Baker, Geno, all these guys have responded from bad organizations. They kind of regroup a little bit. Fields at least would be more exciting. Again, I'm not saying he's a perfect player, but And he said, "Hey, we're going to run the ball really well. We're going to play really good
There's
defense."
the hope of him maybe being
There's
something.
the hope there's an upside. Whereas Kirk, you're kind of hoping like, can he be 75, 80% of what he was 2 years ago pre-Achilles? Or, you're looking at, I don't know, even like Cooper Rush is exciting in terms of like, hey, if he was your backup, he was the backup last year for the Jets. I mean, 2 years ago, like maybe instead of Zach Wilson, we'd have a different conversation.
100%.
But that's not the conversation we're having. So he can only be like those type of guys. Can, like even Trey Lance, right? You like go through some of the names, you're like, oh, like, okay, is that really exciting you? Like there's got to be a bone. You got to build it the right way. But the fan base also is going to need something to get excited about of some sort. And,
that brings me to my next point. Is that trading up for someone in the draft? A lot of mocks having the Jets being the team to go up. Kuiper has Shador falling to 7, and the Jets just picking him, which I'm sorry that no matter how you feel about Aaron Rodgers, if you're going to sell me on the had to move on from Aaron because he's the center of the universe and Glenn can't build it his way.
No superstar, no celebrity quarterback.
And then we're going to draft Shador Sanders at 7. I'm not even saying he's a bad kid, but there's a lot that comes with him because of his last name. I just that would make no sense to me. So I don't buy that. I think if they're going to trade up for a quarterback, to me, Cam Ward's the only guy I would consider doing it for. But you know more than me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I wholeheartedly agree that I think there's a gap there in terms of ability and talent.
An upside, right? Like I just think Cam Ward's got a much higher ceiling.
This is my thing with trading up. It's twofold. These two things have to be the case. We talked about this with Rodgers. Hey, he has to do these things for him to come back under what I was thinking. And, not saying he wasn't willing to do it, but there wasn't a collective willingness to do it. If you believe Cam Ward's the guy and you think 100% with him and our coaching staff and the way we're going to build the roster, we can compete with Buffalo, Cincinnati, obviously Kansas City, Baltimore, right? Like we have a guy that we think can compete, and in Buffalo in divisional round, he could score 24 points or whatever it may be, right? Like something like that. Then yeah, I would like very wholeheartedly check out and be like, hey, can we make this happen? That has to be a non-negotiable. You're not drafting a guy to be a game manager. This isn't 2009 where you needed Sanchez to just like they're not at that point. They need to have somebody that can be like, hey, can we elevate Garrett Wilson to 1,500 yards a year? Can we elevate Breece Hall to a 1,200 yard a year running back? Like stuff like that where I think Cam probably can, or at least is like the ability to potentially do it. I think Shador, you're kind of hoping he's Jared Goff in Detroit. That's who his comp is for me. It's like, again, that's good, but would you trade up multiple first-round picks to go get Jared Goff? I don't think I would. I think he's a good player, but I don't know if he can get over the hump. So I think number 2 is the spot because I think Carter probably goes 1. We'll learn more this week, but throughout the process, Carter probably goes 1. When it comes to now number 2, Cleveland can accumulate assets. Do they want to, get a bunch of picks for 26 when they can,
Why wouldn't Tennessee just take a quarterback though?
I think they might look at it as we're 2 years away, and let's just get in a premium position. We're going to try to maybe fill it with a Sam Darnold. Maybe do they go after one of the bigger name guys, and they set themselves up to new regime, but it's really only a new front office regime. It's not a new coaching staff. So maybe it's like a test of like, hey, let's see how this coaching staff does with better talent. Can they figure it out and be good enough where we're going to give them a chance to invest in a quarterback? Again, if the trade, it all depends on what the trade up is too, Jake. Like, is it 2 1s, 2, a 3, and next year's 3 that could become a 2, and that's like I'm open to that. I think that's, but when it comes to is it 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s,
Some of the proposed offers make no sense.
No, the one that was BS. This is what the Jets are going to offer. That's if the Jets offer that, I would be pretty harsh on. That doesn't feel like we've seen that. It happened 2 years ago with Bryce Young, who was regarded as a really, really good prospect, and maybe or maybe not, it might maybe work. You know what I mean? Like Cam, it's the one thing with Cam that I'm a bit hesitant of is like it's can you coach out a little bit of the YOLO ball? Like you don't want to take away from him being a playmaker, but you also want to kind of not have him turn the football over and not put the ball in harm's way. I guess long story short, I would trade up for Cam if the price is right, and whether it's at 2, does he fall to 3? Because Cleveland says we're going to also take, we're going to take Travis Hunter and we're just going to roll with it and whatever. Now it's like, can you call New England and say, rivals or not, can you call the Giants? Like, that's the only problem is, like, after 2, it's 2 teams that you're rivals with. Both those regimes should make the best decision for themselves. But I don't know. There's always a little bit to it. So, long answer, but I would trade up for Cam. I would not trade up for Shador. It's nothing against Shador. It's that if Glenn is going to follow the principles of the Bill Parcells no celebrity quarterback stuff. Jake, I would pose this question to you. I'll put my hosting hat on for a second. It's week 6. They draft Shador. They start Tyrod the first 4 weeks, and they're 1-3. Week 5's the bye, and week 6 they have a home game against Carolina. You're telling me Dion's not on every radio station in America talking about how Aaron Glenn's a bad coach and they need to fire the offensive coordinator and doing all this stuff? Let's be realistic. Like, that's gonna be what's gonna happen, and the Jets don't need that. They need literally to be like very under the radar, like.
Which they're never going to be because they're the Jets, but like to try and minimize some of that outside
more
stuff
2022 than 2024.
Yeah,
like just in terms of the hoopla around the team.
Well, that's why, like, you look at like the outlook for this team next year. Like, I mean, how is this team a playoff team unless they catch lightning in the bottle like 2015 Fitzpatrick with one of these veterans, or they end up with one of these quarterbacks and they have a outstanding rookie year and Glenn is like Tomlin from the sense of, hey, just give him some competency and he'll fix the rest of the roster and get everyone to maximize their strengths.
Yeah, I'll pivot off this. They feel like a 9-win team next year, and it's because I feel like, can they replicate 95% of what the defense was in 2023? I think they can, because or 2022, I apologize. 2022, where they ran the football much better. The offensive line's better than it was in 2022. The defense, you add a few pieces.
I'd be giddy with 9, by the way. I think it's 4 or 5 games right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think.
I smell it, Will. It smells terrible.
I think my hope is that, and I guess maybe not hope, but my thinking is special teams can't possibly be that bad again.
Yep.
Defense was not only hurt, but also played generally like pretty bad. I think and it's not the locker room guys of Rodgers. So this is like eliminating Rodgers. So before anyone, the locker room last year had a lot of mercenaries that were there to play for themselves and nobody else. And were the first people to point fingers, first people to complain. Addition by subtraction of just getting like, I'm just going to throw one curse, getting the shit out of the building of, you're one of 53. It's not about you. It's about the team. And like, if they can kind of just play as a good team, we see teams in the NFL where if you just don't lose games, like the Jets actively were like, we are going to mess this game up last year.
They led the NFL in fourth quarter.
They should be better than they were last year.
Yeah.
Maybe outside of quarterback, you can, again, I totally understand like the concept of you're getting rid of a former MVP that threw for 28 touchdowns, 3,500 yards. Like, I totally understand. But if they're better everywhere else, they might actually be okay. You know what I mean? Like, they might be in a situation where easier schedule. Can they win a couple of the games they messed up last year? And like, we're sitting at 8 or 9 wins where you're feeling awesome going into. That's part of it also, Jake, while I'm more open to trading up than I think I maybe was previously, is my thinking is you would have to be bad enough. Is this roster really that bad? And if Glenn, and they win 3 games next year, how are you supposed to buy into, like, this is the argument with the Giants. How are you supposed to argue that the coach is the right guy?
Well, that's my point to those saying, oh, well, Glenn's got all this time. And it's like, okay, let's say they go 4-13 next year, or best case, let's say it's a 6 or 7 win season. Well, from that standpoint, then you go into year 2. Are you going to get your quarterback then? So then you have a rookie starting for you in 2026.
Yeah, I like, again, you
win 6 or 7 games again. Guess what? You're on the hot seat going into year 3 now.
I want to see them again.
You got to win.
I think that'd be great if they won 9. Let's just say they won 8 or 9 games next year. Maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe they don't. I don't know. Obviously, every year is different. But you leave the season going, yo, we have everything but the quarterback. Now you go and you trade your 3 first-round picks to get up into the top 5. Like Buffalo, like Kansas City, like a lot of these teams have done where like everything else around them is right. I just want to see the Jets be in a situation where you leave every Sunday or Monday. They'll probably play one Thursday, crappy Thursday game, one crappy Monday night game. Everything else will be
unless Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh, and then
that'll
see
be
week 1 opening night at Jet Life.
Oh yeah, and well, that'll be a nuts building. But like generally speaking, like you want to be leaving. I know this is so cheesy and so cliche. No one wants to see hear about the, moral victories. But I'd like to leave games being like, oh, this Jets team's actually fun to watch. This Jets team doesn't want to make me rip my hair out because they make constant mistakes. They don't look like they want to be there. Like, you want a little too. Jason Fitzgerald was on with Joe and Connor on Badlands for like a Streets of Fire thing, and one thing he mentioned that he said if the Jets this year can catch a blend of 2006 where they had the good draft and they had obviously built around the trenches and were able to kind of continue to build that foundation. They obviously made the playoffs.
Yep.
And 2015 where they have a couple of veteran signings that actually stay healthy, actually want to be there, actually want to play hard. Last year, unfortunately, Jake, every big move they made
outside of John Simpson,
but like Reddick, abject disaster. Dude hates football. Tyron Smith, broken down.
Mike Williams,
washed and hurt. Like every big move, and let some of these guys out of the building. So, point being, like, can they add 3 or 4 guys in free agency for contracts between like $8 and $14 million? Nothing that's gonna like, you'll emergency pod and we'll emergency pod and do the whole thing, but like good solid starters. Can they get a couple of guys that can fill in at right tackle maybe, or defensive tackle, or a linebacker, safety, something that's like nothing glamorous, right? But like, and then you go into the draft and you're like, hey, you get a couple of nice pieces here. Can you form a gel as like a good team? Again, it's all going to come down to quarterback, but if you give Glenn at least something, I'd like to see what he's got as a coach.
Talking with Will Parkinson, Super Chats will cut the line. Ladies and gentlemen, a happy birthday is in order to Peter Castro, who writes in, it's my birthday, big deal. Peter, you're not a birthday guy? Well, I'll tell you what. Happy birthday anyway. Jets Johnny just spent $10 to wish you a happy birthday. Happy birthday to the legendary Peter Castro. Allen is a bum. Call in or concede. Coward. Oh, we'll get to the Allen Jets Johnny rivalry as things start to really heat up for Asmaniac Madness. Well, I got to get your thoughts on the bracket.
I know. I gotta hear what the bracket. Borgonzi was just talking to the Titans. Have received calls about number 1, and they're open to trading it, but they have not made any decisions.
Okay.
So
have the Jets called? Just to check in.
We'll find out this week.
Just to check in.
Maybe we'll find out this week.
Due diligence, baby.
But they again, if you're a legit normal organization,
you call and find out.
Like, people gave Pittsburgh a hard time. Oh, what, the Steelers calling on Trevor Lawrence, blah blah. It doesn't matter if it's going to happen, dude. Do your due diligence.
The Jets, I believe, were the team that called Pittsburgh about Tomlin. I bet you that was a Tannenbaum-esque thing. No stone unturned type of thing.
You should do it, though. That's like, that to me gives me hope, as opposed to a lot of times the Jets would be, oh, I'm going to sit this one out. Nah, we're not going to get him, so why even try? You should try, dude. You should damn well try. If you believe, if you believe in the player, you believe in whatever it may be, like, worst thing you can do is sit this one out. If you believe in him, go get him. Like, that's it. And if you don't, take the best edge rusher, take a receiver, take a tight end, whatever it may be at 7, and go from there.
Clay says Sauce or Garrett are in that package for number 1. No, I doubt that.
They're not.
You already have the number 7 pick.
They're not trading Sauce and Garrett.
Yeah. I would extend Garrett this offseason.
I think Garrett is the first guy you extend, and then I think Sauce, I'd like to see them try to extend Sauce before Stingley gets paid, because not that it's going to be minute numbers, but like Stingley would probably get 4 for 100, 4 for 105 maybe. Sauce is then going to get, hey, I want to be the highest paid guy. It's going to be like, again, small numbers, right? It'll be like 50, $500K more, $1 million more just to say it. But I'd like to see the Jets be like, they don't do this enough. Why don't you set the market and then let everybody else overpay? You know what I mean? Like, they never do that. So Sauce has voiced that he wants to be here. He wants to be extended. A lot of fans, I get it, but he was really good the last 10 games of the year last year, and he was a 2-time All-Pro in 2 years before that. So I get it.
He should play his whole career with the Jets.
The Jets, you want to have a foundation of these guys that, like, these are going to be Aaron Glenn's core guys going forward, and we're going to draft in his first couple of draft classes, and that combination plus some good free agents is going to help you get back to being a legit organization. At some point, if you're going to draft good players, you might want to keep them in the building.
June says, Will is looking jacked. Let's sign him ASAP.
We did.
Want to play tight end for the Jets?
I'll play for free. I'll take all the hits to the head it takes to get this team to play a competitive game.
Look at the Badlands crew right there.
The
There they
Badlands
are.
crew is hanging out.
Where's Caparoso? We demand Joe Caparoso, the Italian stallion. I know Connor Rogers is here. He'll join me later in the week.
Connor's here. We got Paul and Dan are here. So good.
Paul ran into Glenn on the plane, didn't you, Paul? You saw Aaron Glenn on the plane yesterday, right? Yep.
He did. We got Zach Rosenblatt, who's obviously of The Athletic, but contributes and has his podcast on Badlands too. So we got five of the 7 horsemen, or 5 of the 6 horsemen are in person in Indy. It's pretty cool.
I'm ready for the Badlands live show.
Badlands live show. I think we're 225, 250 people. Gonna be packing, sardines in a bar, pounding tequila and talking Jets. Might be some special guests. You never know.
I'll be there. I can't wait. Let's see. Les wants your thoughts on Jalen Walker as an option for the Jets.
I would say if there was a president of a fan club, it'd be me of Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker to me is a guy who can be a dynamic edge rusher. I think he's multi-versatile in the way he's able to. He can play linebacker, can play edge. Obviously, you'd be taking him to be mainly a full-time edge. If you take him 7 overall, it'll be interesting to me. Where does he measure in? Is he 6'2", 240? Is he 6'1.5", 250? Like those little minute things. If he checks all those boxes, Jake, he plays with extreme ferocity and aggression. He wants to go kill people. He plays as hard as anybody on that Georgia defense. You see him tracking quarterbacks down sideline to sideline. He plays the run well. He's a real violence to his game that, like, not as much as Quincy in terms of, like, Quincy kind of launches. He's more of, like, I was at Georgia Auburn in person this year on the field, and the way the pads sounded when he hit people, even just, like, in a run fit, sound like gunshots. Like, it was, like, I was like, whoa, who is this? Like, I mean, I obviously knew who he is, but I was like, who keeps, like, doing that? And he's a guy, again, he's a little bit of a projection. You got to have the right coaching staff to be able to make sure he's in the right positions of, where is he on first and second down versus where is he on third down, short, whatever.
Is he in play at 7?
I think he's in play at 7. He's 3 on Dane Brugler's big board. I think he's 2 or 3 on somebody else's. Like, he's a guy that I think consensus board he's at 6.
He's 12 on the Dom C big board.
Yeah, Dom likes him a lot as well. Look, he's a guy, again, who you'd love if he was 6'4", but at the same time, like, I don't really care. I just want this dude to, like, come in and, like, I'd have no problem if he came in and just started killing people. Like, that's kind of where I'm at, is, like, this team needs, like, a violence and aggression to it. Everyone plays a million miles an hour, and, like, that's, at least for me, those are the things that are super important. And he's not probably the favorite at 7, but I definitely think you'd be crazy to not consider him, at that spot.
Comments, questions, super chats. Cut the line for Will. Johnny Boy says, happy birthday, Peter Castro. Vote Johnny Boy 25. Big Fella says, any news on who the unknown Jet was that was reportedly robbed over the weekend?
I know it. I'm not going to touch on that.
You know who the player was?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
I'm surprised it hasn't come out publicly yet.
I just think it's like illegal stuff with it. He was unharmed. He's okay. It's fine. It just was. I think it's it's just like a legal thing that I don't know that. I don't want to get in. I don't want to get a call from the cops in Jersey of like why we're talking legal investigation type of thing. But yeah, it's not okay. It's not a big deal. I promise.
Adam says one of the quarterbacks falls to 5. Would you move from 7 to 5?
Yeah,
I would.
I think that's where it's really palatable when it comes to if someone drops to 2, they start to drop to 3 or 4. Those teams won't take them. If he drops to 5, you'd be crazy to not at least, if you like one of those guys, trading them 2 spots at that point. What did the Jets get last year? An extra 4 or 5 from the Vikings for 1 spot?
Sounds right.
So what are you giving up, an extra 2? Next year's 2?
I give up next year's 2 to move up 2 spots and get a quarterback.
3 at that point. Like you're not giving up a 1 at that point. So yeah, if you can find a way to move up for a quarterback and keep this year's 2 in some way, that would to me be. I'd almost rather give up next year's 1 and 2 than this year's 1 and 2, just because at that point you'll have taken. There's so much less dead cap money that like you'll be able to address some of those needs next year that you maybe won't be able to address this year.
Super chat from Johnny. He's continuing his campaign. If you love Jake, Will, Nick, vote for Johnny Boy. Johnny Boy, you're doing a lot of campaigning here. My fear for you though is if you look at his region, right? Johnny Boy Johnny Boy versus Jason in Jerusalem opening round. The winner of that likely runs into Charles Gorman and gets steamrolled in the round of 32.
Yeah, you don't want to run into Gorman in the round of 32.
Can I update the people on some Charles Gorman here? There's a reason why he's the number 1 overall seed. This is from yesterday's Charles Gorman program. Charles Gorman back at it again with just absolute venom in his gas chamber.
Oh,
Just incredible, Will.
That was concerning. Like, is everything okay in there?
We also had this from over the summer, Will.
oh, my bad, everybody.
And
You got this guy a dairy pill.
let's not forget about this moment in time.
I think the second one. Excuse me.
And finally,
Good God.
Excuse me.
he's the number 1 overall seed for a reason, Will.
Oh man.
What are your thoughts on the bracket here? We got the 4 regions. We got the Chicken Soup region, the Hood region led by Cheats Fan, the Butter region led by Bobby
I
Midnight.
was gonna say Bobby Midnight's got to be the odds on.
So Gorman's the favorite right now on the betting odds. You look at some of
Bobby Midnight's plus money. I might have to throw down.
Now, the problem Midnight's going to run into here, have you seen his brother's calls into the show? Mikey Midnight, if he had started calling year-round instead of just in the last month, he'd be a lot higher than just a 6 seed. I think he's going to run into his brother in the Sweet 16, and that matchup could determine who gets to the Final Four.
I am anxiously awaiting to see what see who wins this thing.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We're talking with Will Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey will speak at the top of the hour. I doubt they're actually on time, though. The Jets are never on time for anything.
I always say that we'll get a 12:10 Mougey arrive. Which Glenn first or Mougey's first?
I think it's Mougey.
Yeah, we'll get Mougey like 12:08, 8 minutes late, and then we'll get Glenn like 12:30.
The Moog man.
The Moog. We'll get a nice little of sitting there. I receive, you receive situation.
Fiore with an Asmaniac super chat. Thoughts on Dart and Spielman being a big fan?
I would be cautious of anything said pre-employment with the Jets, just because I'm sure the Jets will have interest in him. Like, he's a good prospect. I don't think he's great, right? But I don't know if maybe they consider him at 42, or hey, is he a guy that I think you floated this idea of, hey, is he a guy you trade up from 42 to the back, to the end of round 1 to get the 5th-year option if you really love the kid. I personally think I'd rather take him at like the back half of round 2, early round 3. I just don't think he'll end up being there. So, again, he's a guy. He's fine. Like, he's good. He's got some talent. There's some moxie about him. He's an extremely tough kid. He takes a ton of hits. I don't love the player. I think he's a good player, And again, if the Jets love him and they like him at 42, I would have no problem with them trading up to 31 or 32, whatever it may be, to get that 5th-year option. We've seen a lot of teams do it. Baltimore, you obviously saw do it. Green Bay did it. Other teams, but I don't think he's a guy you could play day 1, which is fine. That's part of why Tyrod's here.
Super chats, cut the line. We'll get to more of them. Reminder for those just tuning in, we're going to do the Asmaniac raffle this week at the Combine. Ready for this, Will? How about these prizes? Signed saucer.
I saw that in the background.
Signed Mangle jersey. Signed Jermaine Johnson jersey. Signed Sanchez helmet. Signed Klecko helmet. And signed Chad Pennington helmet.
Can we get Chad back?
Successful Jets draft picks, baby, in honor of the Combine.
Look,
how about
it? I like the it's like the positivity and optimism when you see some nice good feelings around the team.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna get you after 2 dinners at Prime. I think you'll be at up to 10 wins.
Yeah. Right now I'm at 4, so if you can get me to increase by 6, that'd be pretty good.
I think
you're at 9, which I love. I love the
I think
optimism.
9 and 8. And again, there's a lot of questions to be answered, but like, gun to my head, first-year Jets head coach bump. We usually see that.
Unless you're solid, then you win 4 games.
You just mope around and whatever, play golf. But I would say right now, I'm just sitting at 9 wins until they'd have to do a lot for me to go above 9 wins, and they'd have to do nothing for me to go below it. I think I'll end up settling somewhere between 8 and 9, just because, again, winning 8 games in the NFL shouldn't be that difficult. It really should.
No.
And winning games is really hard, but
I haven't won more than 7 in a decade. But who's counting? I was talking to Steve Wilkes' agent last night, and he's like, they really want the playoffs. They're really excited. And I literally, I didn't mean to be a dick, but I was just like, they haven't won more than 7 in 10 years, and he couldn't believe it. His agent didn't even know that. I'm like, being a Jet fan sucks. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It's all sunshine and roses. It's not.
It's a dysfunctional family, and we all love each other and like to yell at each other on game day.
So shout out to Steve Wilkes for being excited about the job.
I have heard very good things on Steve Wilkes.
He's a really good coach. That was, to me, a great hire by Glenn.
People are really that is, they basically have Wilkes is there to run the defense, mentor some of those young coaches, and help Glenn. Obviously, is a guy who's been a head coach. Scott Turner's there to help assist Tanner Engstrand in what he needs in terms of like, hey, I call plays in the NFL multiple times. Again, not that he's going to be the primary play caller, but at least offer some guidance. So they've kind of built in things like that. Rick Spielman's going to help mentor Darren Mougey. So they've at least done things, it seems, the right way in terms of younger coaches, but also surrounding them with veteran coaches who've done it and done their positions before.
And some changes to the front office.
To the front office. And hey, we have a young GM. Let's bring in a veteran guy who's been an extremely successful GM in the league to help mentor.
The first person to gift a membership live from Indy during this show is Matthew Lemke. He has the honors, and Matthew, because you're supporting the channel, I'm going to give you what the people want for the second time this show. Will, buckle up.
Oh.
What the fuck?
You can't make it up. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew has gifted 5 memberships. He's in the raffle for 5. Anyone else get a gift before we wrap up our first of many shows from Radio Row here at the Combine? Austin Berry, Emmanuel Holcomb, Rue Nuts, Coach Drunk, Chris Curtis, Dave from New Brunswick. They're all now as Maniac channel members. Couple super chats here for Will. Dom C's in the house. Let's go, Dom.
What a beast.
Dom, I got your draft guide open right now. I'll be referring to it all week. Fixing the tight end room in 2025. Sign Will Pa and draft Jackson Hawes. Both guys might run in the 4.8s, but they bring the power.
If I run a 4.8 right now, I'd feel pretty good.
Tight ends is stacked in this draft.
Jackson, this is a great tight end class. I think my perfect tight end room for next year, of being realistic, I'll do a perfect non-Tyler Warren tight end room. I feel like that's a better way to do it. I would re-sign. I know people don't want to hear it. I'd re-sign Tyler Conklin to a 1 or 2 year deal, probably $6 or $7 million. Nothing crazy. I'm not talking big money, and he'll be your long-term 2. Right by week 5 or 6, he's your 2. Good pass catcher. You don't have to have him be an inline blocker. I would take Mason Taylor on day 2. I think Mason Taylor's going to be awesome. Obviously, Dolphins and Jets legend as a dad, Jason Taylor, who I got to talk to in Mobile. Just like a proud dad. It was awesome. He's just on the field like a proud dad. Like no one's even like this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Sister Joy Taylor.
Didn't ask him about his aunt, but no, Mason Taylor's awesome. Guy at LSU. I'll post some clips on my Twitter at some point this week. Some film on him. So if you have Taylor as your long-term 1, Conklin can kind of mentor him, and at least you would know where the floor is pretty high. It's not like, I'm not saying he's a top 5 tight end or anything. Taylor, Conklin, and then I would draft Jackson Hawes on day 3, and instantly your run game is probably drastically improved. He's not a special pass catcher or anything like that, but that dude wants to mash goals. I've been told by 2 scouts around the league that he's the best run blocker in the draft at any position.
Tight end from Georgia State. Don has him as a 5th or 6th round.
Yeah, 5th
projection.
or 6th round guy. Probably pick 157. Maybe you take him. And then Rucker gets to compete, and maybe you carry 4 tight ends, and Hawes is kind of your fullback of sorts. And in the Glenn offense, they're going to run a lot.
Well, they signed Andrew Beck.
Yeah, and they could go ahead. I'm just telling you, Hawes has got a lot of I'm not saying he'll become this good, but a lot of Ricard, Juszczyk type of vibes where drastically improves the run game, can catch passes if need be. But if I was building a realistic one, non-Tyler Warren related, that to me feels like, because that room is going to cost you all of $8-9 million bucks,
yeah.
And it's high upside with 2 young rookies. You have a higher floor with a veteran who's a really big locker room presence. Like that to me would feel like, hey, you're actually doing the right thing of bringing in a young guy, mentoring him with a guy who knows the New York market, knows how to handle the media, knows what it means to be an NFL guy, and also isn't a shitty player at this point. So that's to me what I would kind of say is that's how I would maybe build the room if I didn't go tight end at 7.
Couple quick hitters here, and then we'll wrap up. This one is from Knobcraft, who checks in. You should have seated Charles in 2 spots, 1 for Charles and 1 for his singing starfish. Knob, thank you. Dixon writes in, that Gorman deposit sounded like it hurt. The latest Charles Gorman fart has had reverberations all around Indy. I mean, people have been coming up to me nonstop asking me about it, Will. And I go, that's why he's the number 1 seed.
Yeah, he's just he's a superstar. There's no other way to say it.
Dick Chimney's burner in the house. I got Mikey upsetting Bobby on his way to the Final Four. Is Rich in town? Simini here?
He is not.
He doesn't do the combine. He wasn't here last year.
I'm not sure. ESPN, I think, sent more national people than some of the beat guys, is what I've gathered, because DJ is not here either.
Luppy, we need a Charles versus Beast fart off. Now, have you seen Beast Breakers fart, Will?
I've heard horrible things.
Well, that's one way to put it. The thing is, so Beast was getting annoyed that no one was talking about him as a potential 1 seed. So while I had both them on together, Charles Gorman and Beastbreaker decided to get himself into the conversation as well.
You got to fix the internet up, man. We want to hear what you got to say, you know?
Well, don't worry. I got something to fix it. The very first part of the day.
Holy shit.
There's no way there wasn't like liquid there. That was absolutely heinous. Good God.
It's outrageous. Ladies and gentlemen, Will Parkinson. He can give you draft takes and fart takes if you need them. Let's see. I read Luppy's one. Big fella with a question for you. Will, your opinion, who is better, Shador or Dart, and why do you think that in your evaluation? Jake, how many entries so far in the raffle? Big fella, I don't have the total amount of entries yet, but I know that you have the most, I believe, of anyone after what you did the other day. I could get you that number later today. I got to count it up. But right now, we got 6 prizes. Big fella is the reason why we basically added the Pennington helmet as a thank you to all the Asmaniacs, plus the Klecko helmet, Sanchez helmet, Jermaine jersey, Mangle jersey, and Sauce jersey. All these are signed and come with authentication, so you'll be good to go. But Will, your opinion on Shador and Dart?
Shador's I would have higher because I think the floor is a little higher with him. I've said this before. Here's my issue with Shador, and I don't think he's a great athlete by any means. Takes a lot of sacks, Jake, and I don't think he has a big arm. So I think he's extremely accurate. I think he's very effective. He's obviously been a really good player. He started a lot of football games, but I don't think he's like a special athlete. And I think he kind of at times likes to like run around like he's a really good athlete. And it's like, I'd rather you stay in the pocket. And like, again, I think my comp for Shador is going to end up being Jared Goff. And I think it's actually a compliment to Shador, to be honest. Goff's a Pro Bowl quarterback. So it's not like I'm saying, and he's been in a Super Bowl.
You know every year he's going to be in that 8 to 12 range probably?
Yeah, I think Shador, you are looking at a guy who's probably, his ceiling to me is like maybe the 12th best. He's like maybe even like a little bit of a, not Kirk, because Kirk's, I mean, whatever, but like a similar kind of vibe where like good enough to get you there with the right team, but is he good enough to win it for you? And I don't know. Dart, I like Dart.
So you're not a full Dart dude yet?
I'm not a Dart dude or whatever I think Sabo was on. I was watching. I was trying to come up with a nickname. I think he'll have.
I'm going with Dart dude.
Dart dude is a fair.
You know if the Jets take him though, and he throws 3 picks against the Pats in the home opener.
That's the problem, man. He's like,
it's going to be the headline of the post the next day is going to be Jackson Fart.
You just can't have it happen. You really can't have it happen.
Like I just don't want to deal with it, Will. I really don't.
That caught me off guard. I was that was a nice wet one.
He's Charles Gorman, baby. Wow, how about this here before we wrap? We got a 10 spot of channel memberships gifted by Knobcraft. I'll give you a Gorman. Oh. Just the fact that he just grunted too, like that. Just have some shame, Charles. My God. 10 memberships here before we say goodbye to Will. We got 10 people: Joe Baxter, Doc Averick, Nitty, Shane Tuttle, Jet Life, John Liskey, Billy McCain, Howie from Jets HQ, Low Temp Fade TV, and John, all receiving channel memberships there. Dan writes in, any word on the Jets playing 2 London games?
I don't think that's going to happen.
I think they're going to play 1, and that's it.
No, yeah, they're the home team, right? If I'm not
well, they play Jacksonville, so I guess maybe Dan's trying to connect the dots.
Yeah, but I don't think Jacksonville's. I don't think they're going to play. I would be really shocked. That would suck.
They're going to play 1 London game.
I don't even think Jacksonville. Oh, Jacksonville always does the doubleheader, right?
They usually do like a back-to-back.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. I don't know if Steve's heard that. I've not heard that. But if I do, I'll say something and then be very upset.
Are you buying the Jackson Dart is the Justin Herbert of this draft comp here from All Sports Carlos?
I've never heard that, respectfully. But if that's the case, sure, I would gladly take Justin Herbert on my team. But yeah, Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer for that because I have not heard that comp.
Incredible. Will, thank you very much for stopping by. I will see you at the press conference in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get after it.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's Will Parkinson. My name is Jake Asman. I'll stick around, get to a couple calls before we wrap. He is Will. I am Jake. We are live from Indy, and we're back with more in a moment. Keep it right here. Jake Asman with you. NFL Combine continues live from Radio Row.
Is there any truth to the rumor you're having Knoble on your show?
Maybe.
Who the fuck do you think you are, Charles? I'm the Canobly, and I'm playing for the Jets next year. You better get used to it, motherfucker, because I'm coming to get you.
Did you see the interview we did with Knoble yesterday when he called in?
No, I did not.
I'm just kidding, Charles. I love you, man. You're the greatest. I just want to be your friend, okay? So, please do my friend. Motherfucker!
All right. Charles, thank you for the time today. Last night on a radio station in this town known as The Fan, WFAN, Keith McPherson took a call from Bobby Midnight, who wanted to ask some questions about Knoble.
All right, let's go back to Bob in Vermont.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think the Jets and Giants will do on the draft, your choices? And also, do you ever hear of a player from college called Knoble?
Knoble? From what school?
College.
Yeah, but what college?
It's just college. Do you ever hear that guy's name?
No, I've never heard of Knoble from college. Knoble from college? What position does he play?
He plays offense and defense.
He plays offense and defense? He's a two-way guy?
Yep, that's what he said.
How do you spell the last name?
Knoble. I can't remember how you spell it. It starts with K, I know that.
Okay, because I'm spelling it wrong on Google.
No, Knoble.
Thanks for the call, Bob. I do not know who Knoble is. Maybe somebody listening knows of a player, a two-way player coming out of college that gives you like 300 options. I'm looking at Zoo. He's just laughing. I'm trying to find out. A two-way player plays offense and defense. Knoble is coming.
Do you ever hear of Knoble?
There were two listeners of mine who called WFAN asking two separate hosts if the Jets should take Knoble, and each host was like, they were stumped. They're like, I haven't done enough draft prep. I'm unaware. And they're reciting lines from the show.
John and Seaford, what's up, bud?
A lot of these Jets fans out there want Brock Bowers.
Yes, that is the sexy name surrounding the Jets.
I think the three options you go, O-line, receiver, or if Knoble out of college is there, you got to take Knoble. 5'7", 198, plays both sides of the ball. Not sure if you know him. Mel Kiper had him top 15 pick. What are your thoughts on Knoble?
I don't know him that well. I'll be totally honest with you. Bro, I got to do more draft prep. You said he plays both sides of the ball. Makes me think, who plays both sides of the ball in the NFL?
We now have Knoble's testing numbers. There's a reason why Knoble has skyrocketed off the draft boards here. He has tremendous testing numbers. It's tremendous.
We're back here from Radio Row, and my buddy Bob Trossett, who does what I do for the Jets, but in Baltimore, former radio guy, pre and post for the Ravens, one of my good friends in this business. He's here with me, and I said, Bobby, I got to get you on the show because I've been on your show, Ravens Vault. We love your co-host, Sarah. And I said, you know what? We need Bob Trossett to come hang out on the Jake Asman show for a couple minutes before you go and transcribe whatever Eric DeCosta just said at his press conference.
Which was plenty of Justin Tucker content, of course.
Are they just going to cut him? How does this end ultimately?
Probably a post-June 1 designation.
What's his contract situation?
He's in Baltimore for the foreseeable future. That's what's so wild about this.
They just signed him long-term?
No, it's just a long-term deal from several years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So if they end up cutting him post-June 1, they'll save some money. But, I mean, look, this is a fall from grace that I don't think is being talked about enough. Now, granted, he hasn't been elite in 2 seasons, but this is a player who, when you walk into M&T Bank Stadium on Sundays,
see a lot of Tucker jerseys.
You'll see just as many 9s as you will 8s.
Wow.
So this is a pretty big deal. I don't think it's being touched on enough, but it's good to be back with you, brother, on Radio Row. And whenever I am on Radio Row, I think your audience knows this. I am an extension of the Jake Asman Show.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here without the Asmaniacs if you think about it.
I would not. every single Asmaniac has opened up the opportunity for me to work Radio Row the last 2 Super Bowls and my first combine.
I mean, that's what the credential says. It says Jake Asman.
Looking forward to it. And what that comes along with.
Look at this sign they gave us this year,
Oh,
too.
it's slick.
We're
It's
fancy.
slick. It's going to be almost as fancy as our dining experience tonight.
You ready for your first St. Elmo's?
I am.
What time's our res? 8:30?
By the way, shout out one of my Bobby Baltimoreans. I just made that up. If you're if you guys are Asmaniacs out there, I'll go with a Bobby Baltimorean.
You do need a name for your fans.
I do. We are being served tonight by Alec Whistler, who is a diehard Ravens fan based in Indy.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to try the shrimp cocktail?
Oh, yeah. Oh, he actually said that was on the house, by the way. I forgot to tell you that.
The shrimp cocktail?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't even have it because I have a shellfish allergy. It sucks.
Really?
Can't have shrimp.
Well, you'll be sick. You'll be sucking down some old fashions, I'm sure.
I'll be sucking down a lot of things. Yeah. They're definitely probably a whiskey sour.
Oh,
that
it's
was the
gonna be
go-to.
good.
I finished your old fashioned last night because you didn't want to drink
Well,
it.
just so you know, I watered the hell out of that thing down.
I could tell at the end.
I had 3 of them at the Pacers game, so I had to kind of.
This guy sat courtside, by the way, at the Patriots game last night.
Well, you got to shout out Brian Alkier, man, from Sports Tech here in town. I mean, that dude rolled out the red carpet. Got to see Nicola for the first time. Russ was right here. I mean, the seats were
I
ridiculous.
saw him too. They were so funny. I didn't tell this story to Nick or Will when I had them on the show earlier today, but last night at the restaurant we were at, the entire Denver Nuggets team was there having dinner. So Nikola Jokic, Westbrook, Aaron Gordon, who definitely looks like Aaron Judge in person. It was insane. Standing right next to one of the best players of all time, Nikola Jokic was this close to me to hit when they were leaving, coming down the steps. We were at the corner table.
Yeah,
that was wild seeing them there.
Oh, and he came off triple-double. Was he one rebound shy of a triple-double? Anyway, he had 19 assists. I'm pretty sure that was a career high. It was an exceptional experience. Indiana basketball is second to none. Now, I would have liked it to be a college experience over pros, sure, but the opportunity to go with the recent NBA champion Denver Nuggets was awesome.
How about this? You've been on for 2 minutes, and Luppy already says, Jake, great chemistry. You and Bobby need to be on more. Well, if the Jets didn't stink and they played big games against the Ravens, we'd have you on all the time.
Luppy, I appreciate that. You're going to get that at some point this fall. The schedule release comes out in May.
Is that game in Baltimore?
Ravens-Jets is in Baltimore this year. And I think
congrats on the win in advance.
I think we should probably plan something, though.
Congrats on the W in advance. The last time the Jets played the Ravens was week 1 2 years ago, the Flacco versus Lamar game.
Oh, yeah. But I think we should plan something. You know, let's do it. Maybe we have a joint tailgate type of thing. Everybody can hop on the train, come on down for the weekend. I'll help you out with accommodations, and I think that'd be awesome.
Gator says Bobby's one of the greats. I know you've worked with Gator on some video stuff on your channel. I made the connection there.
Gator made a premiere intro video for the Bobby Baltimore channel, so shout out Gator. What's up, brother?
The great Dane Brugler's right here in front of us.
I was
Hopefully
going to
get him on later
Eric
in the week.
Costa just walked by a second ago, so this is a who's who.
Does Eric like you? I know the Ravens, some members of the organization aren't the biggest Trosky fans, but
luckily, actually, Mrs. EDC, we call her Mr. We call him EDC, and we call his wife Mrs. EDC, and she's one of the very rare. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can you think of another around the NFL general manager's wife who's very involved on social media?
Not a GM. I've had
coaches.
I've had coaches' family members watch the show.
Yep.
Zach Wilson's mom was a big Asmaniac until I started criticizing her son, and then she blocked me on Instagram.
That had to have gone south quickly.
I mean, I can't sit here and say he's playing well, Mrs. Wilson. He, in fact, stinks.
No. There was a lot going on.
Zach Wilson's dad would message with me a little bit his rookie year, but, like, we're in a tough spot. Like, if they don't play well, I can't I can't pretend like all is well if it's not.
Well, it's funny. He ended up getting an all-pro nod this year. You're making me think of my relationship with Roquan. So, as you know, we had him exclusively on our show in 2023 for a 10-episode series. It was awesome. Fantastic opportunity. He's a great dude. Then, out of the gate this year, the Ravens' middle part of the defense was really struggling. A lot was losing Patrick Queen to Pittsburgh. And I had to kind of start. Roquan seemed like he was a half step behind. He was struggling in pass coverage. Like there were some things that I had to start kind of talking about. And I noticed he unfollowed me a couple months later. So
really,
there you have it.
Hey.
Yeah. But where I was going with that though was I'm very close with Mrs. EDC, Eric's wife.
Yep.
I was on the plane ride over randomly commercial yesterday with Eric Costa, John Harbaugh, and Ozzie Newsome.
Oh, Harbaugh was on your flight?
I mean, how electric is it that these Baltimore
are they first class? They got to be sitting first class, right?
No, they were in the window aisle.
They're in coach
or in the
What airline?
Southwest.
Well, that's why there is no first class in Southwest.
Oh, there you go. Well, what do you call the middle ones though? What do they call?
It's like extra leg room, but it's not much.
Or emergency exit row.
Yeah.
So they were in there.
So they had to do the verbal, yes, they'll help.
Oh, it's
the
hilarious.
plane's going down.
And I was the row up above them. So I just thought it was hilarious. These guys are throwing commercial class tickets over here. Fantastic.
He's Bobby Trossett. My name is Jake Asman. I have a quick hitter for Bobby on the way out of here. But first, Mimosa, thank you for supporting the show. How about 10 raffle entries for Mimosa, Bobby? She has a chance to win a Sauce jersey, Mangle jersey, Jermaine jersey, Sanchez signed helmet, Klecko Hall of Fame inscription signed helmet, and Pennington signed helmet. Successful Jets draft picks. It's a rarity, but there have been some great ones, and we're honoring them this week here at the Combine.
Look at this. Mimosa getting it done. 10. I mean, I hear these freaking channel memberships have been going off the shelf.
Yeah, man. The Asmaniacs coming through for the people. And look, I've been telling you about Asmaniac Madness. Yesterday, we had an all-time moment from the number 1 overall seed in our tournament. I want you to take a look.
Oh.
There's a reason why Charles Gorman is the number 1 seed, and we named the region after him. The chicken soup region named after his mother's delicious chicken soup recipe.
Yeah. I love it. Look at the bracket. Look at the way this thing's shaping up.
64 Asmaniacs seeded by a committee of fellow Asmaniacs that worked hours, weeks, months, really, to put all this together. We had over 100 people that were considered. The only rule was you had to have at least called into the show at least once over the last 3 months to be eligible.
Okay.
We had over 100 people that we had to narrow down for a field of 64. I'm thinking about doing an NIT tournament. That's how many great callers we have.
I love it. In honor of next month, the best month of the freaking year.
Can't wait.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks for popping by. I'll see you tonight at St. Elmo's.
Thank you for continuing to include me in your Radio Row plans, and I'll be live over
Where are you going?
the-
Where's your spot by? Are you going to be here or are you going to be by the fake food court thing outside?
You know, I'm thinking about kind of sticking my neck out here. Aaron Wilson tells me an inside source that these guys next to you will not be here for the next couple days. So
really,
the Vault, if you guys are interested in checking out some Ravens coverage coming up at 1:30 or so, once Harbaugh speaks, I'll be going live from right here.
I think my audience will be interested in your co-host as well. We love Sarah.
We love Sarah. Sarah has a Super Bowl ring from the 2012-13 team, and I think has a direct relationship with one Joe Douglas, who I know you don't talk to anymore.
No. I mean, look, Joe did some good things, but ultimately, the team sucked. 30-64.
Yeah.
You got 6 years.
I'll ask you.
I'm surprised he hasn't gotten a job back with either the Ravens or the Eagles to this point.
You know, I'm thinking he may end up back in the Baltimore organization. He's got a lot of good friends that are still there. But I wanted to ask you this on the way out, if you don't mind. Who the hell, if you're a betting man, several months from now, is quarterbacking in New York?
Week 1, Tyrod, with a rookie behind him and maybe like a Justin Fields like quarterback that's signed as well competing.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like this like crazy
Blockbuster
big
move.
name.
Yeah.
Tell me who's out there. I mean, the options. That's why I wanted to keep Rodgers for one more year.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Cleveland's taking a quarterback with Jets are at 7 right now?
Jets are 7.
Jets
it's
are
not a great
7.
quarterback. So unless they trade up for Ward or Shador, which I'd be surprised if it was for Shador. Cam maybe, but that would require the teams in front of them to actually want to listen and take the deal.
Shador is going to be a circus for anybody who brings him in.
And it's not even all his fault. It's just his last name is Sanders. So it's like you can't sell me on getting rid of Aaron Rodgers because, he's this big personality. A lot comes with him. And then it's like, let's draft Deion's kid in the NFL draft.
Let's just say this. When we showed up to New Orleans last month and he had his own production company essentially there with a spot. I don't know if you saw this because you were grinding.
No, yeah, he had a big booth set up. Yeah, I saw it. Yep.
He and Travis, I thought to myself, this dude's what, 21? 22 years old, something like that. And it's just going to be a lot. You better know what you're signing up for. I would take Ward in terms of talent over Shador, but we'll have to see.
I'll see you later.
Cannot wait to see who is matching up with the Baltimore Ravens at some point next fall, and let's start to put a little trip together.
An Asmaniac meet-up in Baltimore.
Once the schedule release comes out, let's put our minds together, and we'll be in touch.
I love it. I usually try to do the warm weather cities, but I could do more than one away game next year. I'll come to Baltimore with you. Bobby Baltimore.
Screw it. Love it.
Make it happen.
Thanks for having me.
He's Bob Trossett. Give him a follow. Check out his work on YouTube, social media. Appreciate it. All right, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to play a clip, come back from this clip, get to a few calls, then wrap because I got to go back there to where Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey will be speaking momentarily. Here's what I'm going to do to get the people going. I'm going to give you a little beast breaker, firing up the people, and then we'll come back and get to your calls.
You know what time it is?
Yeah.
Come on, everybody. Let's do some aerobics. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move that body up that floor. Right, left. Let's go. Come on. Pick that up. Let's get some arms going. Get some stretches going. Come on. 9, 10. Come on, baby. You can move your body. Come on, everybody. Get up and do some exercise. Let's go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I feel great. Come on, let's get some of that up there. What are you laughing at, B-Man? Pick those arms up, kid. Come on, what are you, a whipper or man? I'll give you that first, son.
Oh, shit, that wasn't B-Max. That was kept.
Let's get fucking like a monkey. Come on, girls, you guys can do this. 6.
Really?
Let's see if you guys can do it. Come on, pick it up. This muscle helps strengthen the muscles.
I'm feeling the burn. Let's go. Come on.
Okay, now the other side. Come on. Man, I feel good.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
I'm eating. Beast, you can't out-exercise a bad diet, bro.
You have to look good. You gotta be lean. You gotta be mean.
You gotta have some weights in there.
You wanna be scary, don't you?
No, right?
It's doing the air.
Have this. Have this. Next caller, let's go. Let's get Bobby Midnight in here. Let's bring him in here. Hey, yo, let's move and groove. Let's move and groove, shall we? Move your ass. Let's go. One.
Get your movement. Get your ass up. Get
Great job, Beast. Way to inspire people to get healthy on a Saturday.
All right, we're back. Let's get to a few calls here before we say goodbye. But first, a super chat. Johnny Boy says, Bobby Trossett, we thank you. Vote Johnny Boy 25. Bobby Trossett giving me the thumbs up for you, Johnny Boy. He's off to the side. All right, some calls now. Jay Feisty, Jay Graves starts us off today. What's up, Jay Graves?
What's up, Jake?
How are you, Jay Graves?
Good. This is my first call since the bracket was announced. Unfortunately, I could not watch it live. And then you didn't have the morning show yesterday because you're awesomely traveling to freaking Indy. Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. The coverage here should be fun this week.
You're actually going to be like in the room of the press conference.
I'm in the room now. It's just back there.
Oh, okay.
You see the blue curtain behind me? I don't know if you can see it on the camera.
Kinda.
Right behind that is where all the press conferences are.
That's dope. That's so cool.
So I was here last year, and the Jets only had Douglas who was here. Salah didn't go.
Yeah.
This year, Glenn and Mougey are back to back, so that'll be interesting.
Very cool. But yeah, so I'm putting up the Jay Feisty because we're in tournament mode. It's no more Jay Graves. The Feisty's coming out.
Are you taking down BMAC? A lot of people want to know.
Hello, like well, somebody said Jay Graves basically has a bye week. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. But the committee, I know it was on Nick's show. We talked a little bit there. But again, want to thank the committee. Like some of these first round matchups are epic. I'm so excited for so many of them.
Yeah, look, they did a great job, and with your matchup in particular, I don't think BMAC has a chance because his internet is not even going to allow him to try and campaign for why anyone should even consider voting for him. I think honestly, your matchup with him might be a bloodbath.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm gonna annihilate him. I don't want to look past him, but I'm already looking past him to either Phenom or Kyle Clifton, and I like both of them, but the Feisty's coming. Like, a lot of people have me going to, like, the Elite 8 and, like, the Final 4. Like, I don't know about that, but if I go down, I'm going down swinging. So, I'm coming for all y'all.
Let's go, Jay Graves. Let's go.
I also want to say happy birthday, Peter Castro. He's one of my favorite callers. His rants are epic. So, happy birthday, my friend. Enjoy your day. I will say Johnny Boy is cracking me up with his campaigning.
Hey,
hilarious.
I respect it. He just, look, for him, his goal should be just get out of the first round, and if you lose to Gorman, there's no shame in that,
I honestly have him over Jason in Jerusalem. I mean, I like Jason's takes and everything, and he's a great caller, but I don't know, Johnny's just hilarious. So I feel like that, for me, that puts the edge over on Johnny. So I am definitely Team Johnny. But my other question was, like, so say, the first day is, Charles and
Chris G.
Yeah. So like that day, like I know they can each call in and like campaign for themselves. Can other callers, if I not that one, I probably wouldn't because Charles is like a shoe-in. Maybe not. the young kid has a little bit of a chance. But yeah, I want to call in like campaign for people and try and like sway the vote. I think that would be fun too, having other Asmaniacs call in and I told 25, I'm like, I feel bad for you. I'm like, you're gonna be one and done against Lane Train. I told him I'm giving him a pity vote because I mean he needs some votes, so he's getting my pity vote because Lane's gonna win anyway.
Yeah, but if everyone does that, then all of a sudden it's a lot closer. So like, you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, and so we were talking about it last night with some of the other Asmaniacs. Here's my big concern: is like you can have anywhere from like what a couple hundred, like 1,500, 1,600 on your lives, or even and then more people watching after, and maybe 50 to 60 of us engage in the chat. So like you're gonna beat on them. It's that silent majority. I have no idea what they're thinking. So I have my tentative bracket, and I'm gonna finalize it obviously before March 1st. But it's like it's a crapshoot. Like we don't know what those people who just listen and don't engage think. So it's gonna be tough out there. It's gonna be tough.
100%. Jay Graves, it's a tournament of champions. That's what it's all about. So I'm glad you're in and you got a chance to go on a run.
Yeah, I'm excited. But I know you got other callers and you're getting out soon. So just want to check in since I haven't called since the bracket came out. So I will talk to all y'all later.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great number 5 seed, Jay Graves. Let's go, baby. Let's go. All right, I am going to get out of here shortly, but we have some business to attend to. It is Peter Castro's birthday, which means Bobby Midnight is here to sing to the great Peter Castro. Plus, I believe it's Leanie in North Carolina, her husband's birthday as well. So we have a double whammy of birthday celebration on the show. And when that happens, there's only one guy we call on to lead the charge.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jake, for taking my request. I appreciate that very well.
You got it, Bob. Make it quick, though. I got to run.
Oh, yeah, it's my honor. Yeah, put me full screen. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Peter Castro and Leanie's husband. I hope you two have a great day and enjoy this beautiful day. Have a great day. Have fun. Bye now. How's that? Good? Was that good, Jake? Jake, what are you doing? I thought you were saying you have to leave. What are you doing? I'm done.
My bad, everybody.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Great job. Great job. Johnny Boy, campaigning again. Hello, Johnny Boy.
Good morning, Jake. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing really well. We over here at the Johnny Boy campaign would like to extend an olive branch across team lines to invite Bob Trussett to vote for Johnny Boy 2025. Because honestly, if the Ravens and the Jets could work together, then anything is possible. Big shout out to Peter Castro and Mr. Leanie. Happy birthday from the Johnny Boy campaign. And as well to all the 4%ers that are out there as well that are part of the Asmaniac Madness bracket. We here support you as well. So
now
again,
let me ask you this, Johnny, because
Yes,
obviously, you're in a tough matchup, the 8-9 in the opening round. But say you do advance, you got to be a little worried about Gorman, right? Because, I mean, the guy is just unleashing fart after fart leading up to this tournament. He's going to be tough to beat.
well, myself and our entire campaign team already have a plan in place for Charles Gorman as well. Let's just say that, Jake, there will be some news that's going to be broken on your show that could potentially spoil any type of advancement for Charles Gorman. So with that being said, once we move to the next round, we will let you know what's going on with that, Jake. But we appreciate everything you do. Everybody hit the sub, hit the like button. Super chats always cut the line. And you guys know what time it is. Jake Asman, we appreciate you. Vote Johnny Boy 2025. We appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Boy, check it in from the campaign trail. That's a great first-round matchup. Jason in Jerusalem's a great caller. We haven't heard from Jason since the tournament bracket was released. Dan says, we already play at Miami, at Tampa, at Jacksonville next year. Yeah, I don't see the Jets having more than that one London game, Dan. I think it'd be extremely surprising. All right, one last call before we wrap it all up here. If you haven't hit the like button, as Johnny said, make sure you do so. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the Gusbuster Umbrella Hotline is the 2 seed in the Chicken Soup region. Love them or hate them, you're guaranteed to watch. It's time to unleash the beast.
Beast Breaker 666. He's the man who would kick your ass, and then he's gabagoo.
Hey, Brigga, I got something for you. All right, here we go. From the one, swinging out, and a ball. That's an outside shot. Here comes the next pitch. Here it comes. That ball is driven to right. It's going. It's going. See you later. Fly like the eagle, baby. Fly, fly, fly. And Brigga, your ass is mine. And I smoke you like weed. Brigga's gonna be smoked like a big old load of nice big brisket, like a Texas brisket. Oh, baby, it's gonna be a nice little seasoning of salt, pepper, and a little bit of Cajun. Just like that. 1, 2, 3. Now, let's get the train rolling, baby. Come on, let's get that train rolling, baby. It's not the soul train line. It's not the train line. And they bring up, baby boy, you go down because of me. And I'm going to take you to school. I'm going to make you the bitch. And son, when I do, I'm the teacher and you the bitch. And don't think I can tell it. I tell it like it is, fool. So, as they all say, see you later, alligator.
You know what time it is? A beast breaker 666. I'm gonna take my fist and shove it up your ass, and then he
Beast is ready for Brigga in the opening round. I'm ready to hear from Mougey and Glenn in 15 minutes. We're back this afternoon to react to what they say. We're going to have guests from the Combine all week long on the shows that I'll be hosting. We'll check in with more Jet reporters, draft analysts. Last year, you guys might recall, we had Rich Eisen on our show, among many other A-list guests. So we're working on some big things this week, just like we did at Super Bowl Radio Row a few weeks back in New Orleans. Combine is one of the best events of the year. It's a lot of fun if you're a football fan, and the content I think this week is going to reflect that. If you haven't filled out an Asmaniac Madness bracket yet, the link to do so is in the description. Fill it out. It's free to enter. You have a chance to win prizes. It's going to be fun. I mean, only the Asmaniacs could make this feel like the ultimate event, and that's what we have here. So, I want to thank the committee again for their efforts. Boomtown, the chair of the committee, everyone who's already filled out a bracket, everyone who's locked in to this tournament. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks to all our guests today. Nick Faria, Will Parkinson, Bob Trossett. I think I yelled at a couple people walking by. We'll count them. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a show. Thank you again. We're back this afternoon. Join the Patreon if you haven't, so you'll get a chance to see when I'm going live and all that. And in honor of Aaron Glenn speaking for the second time as the Jet coach, I end today's show with this. Enjoy.
Oh.